So today in this video, we're going to continue with Git and GitHub, and we'll learn by exercise. So make sure you are on the exercises link. And before I go further, I want to do a recap of what we learned on Git and GitHub in the previous tutorial. So in a gist, Git is basically a version control system. As you can see, we use Git to maintain a central code repository, and you have different collaborators who can access and contribute to that repository. That way, all your changes are in one central location. And GitHub is basically built on Git, and it provides an online solution to hosting this code repository online so that everyone can access it over the internet. And just want to go over the GitHub flow one more time. So say for example, you have a computer at home or at work, and you made some code changes. What you do is you push and commit those changes up into github.com. So the GitHub repo has the latest changes, and then from another computer or another developer, that person can pull down the commits, pull down all the latest changes, make his own changes and make new commits, and then push it back to github.com. So that way, this every time you are starting to work, you should always pull the current new updated repository back to your computer, make the changes, and then push it back again. So the flow, like you saw in the code, is first is you pull, and then you make change, then you commit and push, and you do this cycle every time you're using Git or GitHub. Once you have made all the changes, and you have pushed all your changes online to github.com, you should be able to check it on your browser online. So each repository will have a link something like this. So you have https://github.com and your username which you used for your login, and then you will have a repository name, and the link will be very simple. And once we go into actually making a repository, you will understand more about where the link is and how do you see it. So let's go back to the exercise. And before I start, I think the first step is to create an account and log in to github.com. So we'll do that. So let's go to github.com. I'm in the github.com website. So I will sign in. I already created an account. So in case you haven't, please do so. So this is my username, and I will log in. So now that I have logged in into github.com, you can see this is the landing page. And right now I don't have any repository, so I have to create a new repository. So you can either click on this link or go on the top right, there's a plus symbol, and then create a new repository. So I will do that. So let me go to this page, and now I'm here. This is the page where you create the new repository. So let's go back to the link. And so what we want to do is create a project name 101. This will be the name of my repo, and I will do that. Project 101, I'll say this project first tutorial, and I'll make it public and initialize it with the readme. So I will add, so for now I will ignore this git ignore, and license just you don't need to accept it. So once I do that, I'll create a repository. So my repository name will be project 101. So let me do that. So now that we have created a repository, so it will look exactly like this. So you are in the repository page, and it tells you it gives you some instruction of how to use it. It is very similar to what we learned before, but this has some more advanced options, so I won't go into that. So let me click on this link and go to the landing page. So you see, when I created my new repository, the link is, like I mentioned before, github.com in the beginning, and then your username, and then the repository name that you just created. So this is basically your web link to your repository, and this is how it looks like. So you can see there's already a file which is called readme, and this is the contents of the file, project 101 first tutorial. So that was the header, and this was description I put in. So by default, it if you are, so when I created this repo, I just checked the readme, so it is generated automatically. And there are a bunch of things here, like for example the issues. So if you have more than one collaborators, they can submit issues. And you can also watch the pull request. Like I mentioned before, pulling means you're downloading the changes locally. And then here also there are a bunch of options, like create new file. You can create it right here in github.com. And then you can upload files, find file. So these are some options that you can use. And here is what we will be using. So clone or download. So this is as you can see, clone with https. This is what we'll be using. This is your github repo link. So I will just make a copy of that, or you can just say control C. If you're using SSH, then you can click on this link and it will give you an SSH link. But we are not going to do that. We'll use HTTPS link. So once we have this copied, what we'll do is we'll go back to your terminal. So I will divide my screen into two parts, my terminal on the right and the tutorial page here. So first thing is we'll clone the Git repo. So now that we have that link, so I will do a git clone and I'll paste that link. Once I've done that, so you will see it is cloning the project 101 locally. And now I should have my project 101. So you can see I have my project 101 right here. And so before I do that, I want to clean up my project file a little bit. Once I do an ls.l, you see there is a folder called project 101. So once you go into the folder project 101, I can see there will be this readme file, same as the online repository that we saw. Now let's go deep into the more to do with Git. So now what we'll do is we'll create a file in this folder. So this repository is already initialized with Git. So it is already synced, meaning it has all the components, all the links inside. So what you can do is ls.a, and you will see there are some hidden files in it. So .git. So this basically has all the information about the Git repository, the link, how to upload, all the configurations. So now we'll create a file called helloworld.c, and we'll put in this code in it and see how we can work with Git. So I will touch hello world.c and I'll open a nano editor, hello world.c, and then what I'll do is hash include stdio.h, and then I'll do an int main, just a basic program for printing hello world, printf, and then I will do hello world from Unix. I'll put a new line at the end of it, and then I will return 0. Once I have done that, I'll save this file. Just let me check. I'll do a compilation of this file. Hello world.c. So it has compiled. So let me check the output. So you see there is an a.out file. This is basically the compiled binary. So I'll make a run. So run the file with a.out, and you see there's hello world.out. So this program is running properly. So now that we have done this, let's create another file, and that will be hello world.python. So I'll do the same thing, touch hello world.py, and I'll open it with the nano editor. Then I'll just type in print hello world from Unix, and that's all you need for to print something in Python. So I will go control X and I will run it. Okay, so it is working now. Let's start. Check. You have both the files.